Hi, my name is Elizabeth Cornett, and I'm here to talk about the Big Five Personality Assessment, also known as OCEAN, an abbreviation for openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. I have my results all tallied up here, and I'm very excited to share them with you. I had to take my glasses off because I have my notes on my computer right here, and the glare was just horrible. So I'm going to list everything I read in the order that was listed to me, which funnily enough was not in the order of the acronym, which I thought was very weird that they did that. However, I'm going to start with extroversion, and I'm very excited. For extroversion, for someone who scores high in extroversion, it means they enjoy being sociable, talking to people, or someone who scores lower enjoys staying to themselves more and might be a little less attracted to going out. For extroversion, I scored a 39 out of 40. Funnily enough, I actually did this assessment with my friend besides me this morning. She's not in the course, but I thought it would be a nice activity to do together. It was her first day of community college. Yay. And so we were doing it together. And when I told her I scored 39 out of 40, I asked her what she had scored, and she had scored 9. And I thought that was very silly because she's actually one of my very close friends. I somewhat agree with my score. However, I think I have a fairly low social battery, so I don't know if it should be 39. I think that's insanely high. But I do want to say I think that I've definitely grown with my voice as I've gotten older. Once I quit soccer, I joined the performing arts and improv, and I think that gave me a lot of strength and power in my ability to talk, and it made me realize that words with intent hold a lot of strength and, well, power. The second aspect of my personality that I tallied up points for was actually agreeableness. To have high agreeableness is that you are very accepting, go with the flow, I guess some would say. To have low agreeableness would be abrasive. So, in my opinion, I think being too high or too low of either is not beneficial. For this one, I scored a 29, which I think actually perfectly encapsulates how I am as a person. Um, I definitely like to be a mediator. I like to keep the peace. I'm not one to try to start fights for no reason. But I also think I am really not passive. I stand for what I think is right. And I think a score of a 29 perfectly encapsulates that. I think any higher would be inaccurate as I am not a pushover or a people pleaser by any means. Um, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up, so to see that I scored so high on this, um, but still had room to understand that like I know how to stand on my own feelings and intentions was very comforting and affirming to my own goals for the future. The third aspect that we were told to look into was conscientiousness, which is actually a word I had to look up several times because I was getting confused on how to pronounce it. A high score would indicate that I'm very hardworking and clean. I enjoy plans and rules, while a lower score would indicate that I'm messy and not very plan oriented. I scored a 35 on this one, which I think is very accurate. I enjoy rules, I enjoy structure, and I'm very hardworking. I think my work and my schoolwork is some of the most important things to my personality, and I view my education as a pathway to my successful future. So it's very serious to me. So to score this was again very affirming, and I think it accurately represents me. I don't think I'm a true and true 40, as I think there are some aspects of my learning and my structure, day to day routine that I can definitely make stricter. But overall, very accurate. The fourth aspect of my personality that I was told to look into and assess with was neuroticism. High neuroticism means that I am more prone to bouts of mood swings and anxiety, depression, while low neuroticism would be the lack of that. I scored a 13, which I was very happy with. I do think that the test focused more on mood swings as opposed to anxious. I think I'm a very worrisome person and I worry and overthink a lot. But the questions that had to do with neuroticism to me were very much more based around like questions such as like, do you have mood swings? Which I don't think fully represents the scheme of things, but I'm pleased that I scored overall lower. I think I am a pretty a non-emotionally reactive person, so I think a score of 13 accurately represents that. I definitely have emotions, but I try not to lead my initial reaction with them. My fifth and final personality aspect I had to look into was openness. A high score would be someone who's open to new experiences and change and things like that, and a low score would be someone who enjoys regimen and thinks to stay the same. I scored a 37, which I was pretty shocked by. Um, I think I'm comfortable with change. I don't fear it. I try to take things with a grain of salt and I try to just move on. I try to think everything happens for a reason. However, I wouldn't say I'm someone who hopes and prays that things shift and are unstable. However, I think a high score validates me that I've grown enough to, when I answer my questions, it seems that I am so comfortable with change that you would think I want it. I think this is a good trait to have. As I said earlier in the video, I want to be a lawyer, and I think being open to change and being ready to move with life's various difficulties is very important for that. And therefore, I am pleased with my score of 37. As I had mentioned earlier on in this video, I actually took this assessment with one of my very, very good friends. When I looked at our results, I had realized that we were on complete opposite ends of the spectrum for almost everything except two things. I saw that our agreeableness and our neuroticism scores were variably the same. We both had low neuroticism and relatively middle ground agreeableness. Hers was a little less than mine. However, I thought this was a perfect example of why this assessment is so important, as it showed me and put into perspective the things I value and the things that I obviously let waver more. I value people who are stable in their emotions, as well as understand and are impassioned by their own beliefs. Whereas I can let slide when people are less extroverted than me, as I actually tend to enjoy people who are more introverted, as I think it calms me down and it keeps me grounded. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this assessment, and I think it gave me a good sense of self reflection, and in a lot of ways, affirmed my own abilities and beliefs, and gave me a lot of validity in the fact that a lot of the things that I saw in my results were things I already believed. So it affirmed that I obviously have grown and am able to self reflect in a way that's